Hello and welcome to episode 348 of the Destiny Community Podcast, the one about the state of the game.
State of the game.
Oh boy!
Briar's, if you couldn't hear that due to Briar's incredible microphone gate, he cracked open a beer.
Yep.
And TV has whiskey, I assume.
Mm.
This is brown water tonight.
Brown water?
Yeah.
That's just dirty water.
Yeah. I'm still trying to get those jelly beans out of my teeth.
Oh, man.
The worst one by far is
Yeah.
the dog food.
No.
It sticks.
Oh, we didn't
No,
have
no,
the
no.
dog
Not
food.
tasting. Dog food is palpable. Like I can handle a dog food, but like it sticks in your mouth for days. Vomit, it goes. It comes and goes. But like
used bandage.
Band-Aid.
Yeah. Used bandage was the worst.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
I agree.
Worse than sweaty gym sock, huh?
My body rejected it. I was trying so hard to swallow those ones, and my body was like, "That's not food. No."
Right. That's
may
how
not
my body
swallow.
was with rotten egg.
Yeah.
Rotten egg, every bite of the thing that gave more flavor, I was like, ooh, uh-oh.
like the only way I
And
could
you know
swallow
what?
it was by like washing it down with water.
Yeah.
It's the only way I
Same.
could get it to go down.
Yeah.
My body would not swallow it. It was like
Isn't that like a delicacy somewhere in the world? Like those like
used bandages.
the 100-year eggs?
Yeah, so I've actually had that.
Yeah.
Yes, Rin, I've actually had that. I spent a summer in Hong Kong and then went into the coast a little bit. And one of the places we were at, that they served it to us because they wanted to treat us really well. And I thought it was a meatball. I was like, oh, finally something I can eat that's normal.
That's concerning that you'd get those two confused.
Yeah, well, it was a rotted egg yolk wrapped in fish meat and boiled.
Ooh.
So it looked kind of like a meatball.
How'd it taste?
But
What
it
did it
was-
taste like?
You know what? I didn't let it sit for very long. I just smiled and started chugging water, you know?
Thank you.
Oof.
I can tell you that my body was not used to the taste.
Mm.
I don't know
Yeah, the
what
idea
kind
of
of rotten
letting-
egg it was, like what kind of bird it was from, but it was bad.
They're blue. That's the wild part to me.
The
turn
rotten egg
blue.
is blue.
It's like
Yeah.
it was like a sea green for me. Like kind of
Really?
that bluish
Oh.
tint to it, but mostly
Mm.
like that sea green kind
Maybe
of a color.
yours was
Yeah.
extra
Mm.
rotten.
Maybe, you know, maybe they were like, let it sit a little longer. Yeah.
No, this is
Or-
a slightly older egg.
Let's put it out on the
Yeah.
sidewalk
Pre-
before we serve it to this guy.
Let it cultivate some more bacteria on it. Yeah.
So
All right.
we have Rin here. Rin came to join us
Oh,
last
yes.
minute. So
Thank you to join
Rin.
us for joining us, Rin.
Yes,
Hello.
thank you.
You got to be our
Yes.
lore master for the night.
Yes.
Oh boy. I'll do my best.
Last time
Do
you
my
knew
best.
more than Mylan, so
Mm.
I think
Yeah, Smiling couldn't
See,
be
I've-
here. The second Emu War has started, and he has been
Yeah.
Right.
listed.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
think he'll ever be back, frankly.
No, he's dead now. You don't pick a fight with a fucking werebird, dude. Like you don't do it. That's what they are. They're not human. They're not birds. They're werebirds. They're
Well-
just some fucking amalgamate that yeah.
And there's rumors that they've got a potential alliance with the platypuses. So if that's the
platypi?
case, like count the Australians out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
We'll
got-
miss,
they
we'll
got
miss
hard
Smiling
butts.
dearly, but we'll replace him pretty quickly, I feel like.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Well, there's 4 other lore masters above me, so I mean.
I wonder what Aztec Cross is doing right now.
Mylan's
Baldur's
a-
Gate.
Playing
I know
Remnant,
he's in
probably.
chat. That's why I'm saying it.
The DCP graveyard is not large. It's just full of now Bungie employees. And Pope. We don't know where Pope is. Pope's been missing for a long time.
I think it's
Yeah.
in South
Seven
America.
Who knows? He was. Yeah.
Rain, you brought a question for us.
I did.
Okay.
Okay.
Kind of related to something that we were just talking about with werewolves and stuff. Okay, so vampires, right?
Yes.
Vampires are dead. Vampires
Yes.
don't have blood flow. How boner?
Well, do we know for sure that vampires have boners?
That's the question.
Can somebody send me a dick pic of a vampire, please? You can send it to the main account.
So you just
Yeah.
at DCP_live on Twitter?
Yeah, so like it probably wouldn't be a 90-degree. I mean, you get the protractor out, but I would imagine it's a limp 45.
Maybe the trick is you just gotta be engorged when you get bit, right? So it's just
What?
So it stays.
So what
yeah,
you have? You're running around with
full
perma?
yeah, all the time. Well, who's
Yeah.
gonna say shit? You're a vampire.
Maybe that's why they're so angry.
If you drink enough blood, can use that blood?
Well, see, that's the other thought. Like, if maybe that's why when they get all sexy, you know, they like,
They want to bite people.
yeah,
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
need to like.
Briar's like, I do that.
That's my process, Briar. Yeah.
Don't kink shame me, Watts.
Hey,
I was just curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
or maybe
that's an
they just
interesting
inject it. You don't know.
I was gonna say, yeah, an
They can
injection
inject
could.
Like,
Yeah.
do they for sure have sex, or do they just like act sexy
Dude,
to get you
have you seen?
to get you like in like a vulnerable position so they can suck your
Yeah.
blood?
Sure.
Okay, but like, have you seen literally any media with a vampire in it? They always are giving those
They're
like
very sexy.
fuck
Yeah.
me vibes. You know, they are.
Yeah, but do they actually have sex, or do they just?
What if they dry hump?
Yes.
They could dry hump.
I think
Yeah.
think they're just like lulling you into like sexy time and then chomp.
Yeah.
Well, they don't
But-
have babies, right? Because in order to
Well, they
make
can.
children, they bite people to become there.
I'm pretty sure they can in certain mythos, though, right?
Can they
See,
procreate?
Let's
Like
assume we're not talking about shiny vampires.
Okay,
Most
Which is
vampires,
even
I think, are
weirder.
sterile, right?
because they're made of diamonds, which makes no sense. Don't ask how. I don't. Yeah, that they're shiny and they. Yeah. Anyway, they rip the head off and there's a diamond in there. I don't know it,
Oh, I did not.
which
know
it turns out to be is a dream prophecy thing. It's stupid. Don't watch the movies.
I think for vampires,
problem.
procreation is passing on. You know.
Like the bite,
Vampirism.
the disease.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right.
procreation for them. That would be my guess.
Yeah, somebody
So
in
as an
chat
extension
makes a
of-
good point.
It-
True blood, those vampires fuck. For sure.
See?
Are there any actual vampires in chat
But
that
have
help
you
us out with
seen
this?
their penis?
No.
Yeah, that's
no.
true.
Which is odd because I've seen every other part of them.
Doesn't that Dracula movie come out this weekend? On the
Oh,
boat? It's like the last voyage of the thingamafloppy and Dracula's
It's
on board.
the thingamafloppy is a good,
Yeah, I don't know.
is a good word for.
Given the context, I
conversation.
probably could have chosen my words better. Yeah.
Is that the one with Nicolas Cage?
No.
No.
Wasn't there
No.
a vampire movie with
There
Nicolas Cage? or
was.
something?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Last
he was
voyage of the Demeter.
the Demeter. Yeah, Demeter.
Demeter?
The last voyage of the Demeter. Yeah.
What's
Okay.
a Demeter?
Wait, that's
That's
the
the
boat
name of
did
the ship.
Columbus or something, right?
That
Columbus
was
is
the
a vampire?
Mayflower? Was it? No, that was the
Wasn't
Mayflower.
there
That
three
was the
ships?
Pilgrims.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what? Didn't they have 3 ships that they came in on? I don't know. That name sounds familiar.
Look, my early American
Listen,
history
I don't
is
know. I don't know
pretty
anything
vague.
about it. There were 3 boats.
That is the boat in the novel Dracula. Oh,
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
And that makes sense, I suppose.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
I'm seeing
As an
People are
extension.
saying Nina Pinta Santa Maria.
Nina.
Is that a?
Oh yeah, no, those are the other boats. Yeah, I'm entirely wrong.
Oh. I thought that was like a chant that you did when you wanted a vampire. To...
Yeah, it goes Nina,
Just you.
Pita, Santa Maria.
Yeah, they were freaking
You ever been to
Spanish
church?
boats, man.
That is how the Catholics were born.
Right.
Yep.
As an extension of that,
We should start a
If you
history
could-
podcast. We're nailing it.
Killing it.
if you could be a were anything, what where would you want to be?
Ooh, I'm
Werewolves
gonna
are
be a
dope.
were-orca.
A were-what?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a
Oh, that's
What does that look like?
terrifying.
Would you
Mhm.
look like the dude from My Hero Academia?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
That'd be
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Captain Orca or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's that, but
Isn't his name literally something Orca?
something Orca. I don't think it's Captain though.
I don't know. He's a captain to me. Well, he's the captain of that vessel in the show.
Vessel.
Yes,
There's
in
a
the very
vessel?
first. Yes, he takes them out. No, I'm thinking of the seal. I'm thinking of the seal. Remember the seal guy takes
No.
Froppy out on their first
Oh,
mission.
yeah. Backup
Channel,
character
no.
4. Yeah.
No, the guy was dope. The seal chap.
Yeah, he's
I think I'd
cool.
want to be something like a bald eagle, so that like I'm endangered, so nobody can fuck with me, and I
A
can fly.
werebird.
Mm.
Where
if
would
you're
your
a
wings be
Not a
located?
bird, a bald eagle specifically, because
Mm.
nobody can fuck with me.
Where Dodo,
Right.
dude?
That's not gonna work out good.
What did you say, Watts?
I was gonna say that if you're a were-eagle, are you still technically an eagle? Because you're then like a new animal, so maybe you wouldn't be protected.
Oh,
But you're even more endangered because there's even
You are more
fewer of you.
endangered, but you're dangerous.
People fear new things, though. They might just come after you because you're different.
That's like, is this a Destiny show?
Yeah.
Yes.
Eventually.
Yeah, no,
100%.
yeah, this is Destiny. Hello.
Listen,
I'm
guys,
just gonna-
it's a slow. It's a slow.
We're just
week,
gonna
all
put
right?
in a link at the end of the show to True Vanguard's post today, his YouTube video, Aztec Ross's video. You know, we'll just
put everyone's video.
we'll get you up to date.
I'll have you know, I spent a good 3 minutes looking for the perfect gift to respond to you today, Watts. I spent my time on that
appreciated
one.
That was good. It was perfect. I was like, wow, that's perfect.
So I got a question before we get going.
Yes.
TV, you put out a video. This is actually before the charity stream, so it was I think last week that said you're kind of stepping away from Destiny. I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit about that. What's going on there?
Yeah, so I kind of got to this point where, you know, everyone knows me in Destiny as like the PvP guy.
Right.
You know, and the PvE people are like really freaking good at what they do. And I don't want to sort of compete against them for content because honestly they do it better than I ever would. So I kind of wanted to see if I could start diversifying my content and finding success that way, because I just honestly don't know if banking on Destiny PvP to be the thing that provides income for my entire family. I don't know if that's a safe move. And if diversification can happen, I think that would be the best way to go because it's much more versatile. So I just think it's time. You know, I've been kind of waiting on Destiny PvP to make good strides forward so we can get back to where interest is higher, because right now interest is much lower. So your viewership takes a hit because people aren't out there looking up new Destiny stuff for PvP because there's no new Destiny PvP stuff. And it's been that way for a while. So after enough waiting, I just sort of got to the point where I was like, I really think it's time. And so it's been a lot of fun. You know, I since then I've uploaded 18 Remnant videos, 2 Starfield videos, and obviously when you go through a transition like that, you're going to take a huge hit to your viewership. But the cool thing is looking into the analytics and seeing how many of the viewers that do engage with that content are brand new to your channel and deciding to stick around. And so that's really encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's been, you know, you have growing pains and stuff like that, but it's been a really fun process for me.
That's great.
If let's say theoretically Bungie was to turn around the PvP side of Destiny, or just inject some, like later on today, they are going to put a new map in, right? So do you think you'd make content about that, or are you just like stepping away altogether?
I could make a video that says, "Was this map worth the wait?" And
Well, that's a lot to live up to.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna get into this more today. But the thing is, it's not enough good. There's not enough good faith there for me to be like, yes, let's pivot back. Let's get back into the Destiny PvP swing of things, because the YouTube algorithm specifically likes consistency. So if I start doing variety and then pivot back to Destiny, I'm gonna lose more. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna keep shedding.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to make the transition. It's like ripping off a band-aid. It's like, this is gonna suck for a little bit, but then it's gonna get better. You know? And so if I'm ever going to make that transition back to Destiny PvP being the flagship content on my channel, then I'm going to need to see something a lot more than what we saw today. Because what we saw today delivered zero promises. It literally said, this is the thing that we hear the most from the community, but... And then they made... Yeah, and then they did not address that. that thing. So
My
we'll get
kinda
into that.
we'll get into it. My TLDR of it was like whether you've quit Destiny, whether you're kind of apathetic towards Destiny, you're loving Destiny, no matter what camp you fall into, the state of the game today didn't do much to kind of swing you either way in any direction. It's just kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
As someone who hasn't played the game in almost 2 months, that's not very comforting to hear.
Well, Rin, I'll read it to you, and maybe you'll go, "Wowie, powie, I'm back, baby."
Oh wow,
Or
You
maybe
might.
you won't.
maybe,
You might. So
maybe.
we'll kick it off. This is Joe Blackburn, who is the game director for Destiny 2. I'm not going to read the beginning part. If you do want to read it, he talks about back in February, we covered a state of the game heading into Lightfall, and they had big goals. And then in April, they looked back at the lessons learned from launch, and they just kind of talk about that stuff. So we're jumping right in with addressing feedback. We've been tracking a number of playing feedback items over the past few months. While we've covered some issues recently, including the roadmap for improvements, it's time to get detailed. So we're jumping to ritual updates. We're going to start with PvP. There is a little bit of stuff to read before they get into the PvP stuff. But I think we're good to just jump into PvP. Guardian versus Guardian. Thanks to the hard work of multiple teams, we've delivered several additions to PvP over the past few seasons. These include the launch of Competitive Division, multiple new game modes, a revamp of Trials, new competitive and Trials rewards, Fireteam matchmaking improvements, a new Rotator playlist, PvP-specific weapon tuning, several quality of life improvements, and more. However, we know our hardcore PvP players want more maps, fewer cheaters, and an ever-evolving meta that feels good to compete in.
Sweet. They heard us.
What did you think about the intro? Because I've seen a lot of feedback for people where they're like, it seems like you're kind of just listing the things that you did and being like, hey guys, look at all the cool things we did.
Yeah. 100%. And so we did all of the, just to remind you, we did all of these things. Yeah, it very much did read that way.
This paragraph sets me up to be like, okay, they hear that we want more maps, fewer cheaters, and an ever-evolving meta. And then I expect to read the next 3 paragraphs are going to be like giving us those things.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
In hindsight, knowing what I know from what you guys have said and what other people have told me about this kind of reads like that one meme where it's like the guy that's celebrating with the medal on his neck and he's in the second podium.
Oh yeah, he's like
grabbing the butt,
podium.
fighting the thing.
That's a
spraying the
great
shit.
meme.
I love that. Yeah, it's a great one.
Except nobody is on the other podiums.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know.
Well, the most frequent feedback we see is that there's just not enough new PvP content, specifically new maps. To set expectations, our studio structure is built to support more overarching updates to PvP like the ones above, rather than focusing exclusively on maps. When we do focus our resources on building new Crucible maps, it comes with the trade-off of multiple teams' bandwidth on work that contributes to a variety of experiences that players also hold dear, such as new story or exotic mission content, core activities that make up the foundation of each new season or new destinations. Similarly, bringing back reprised maps also involves extensive porting to the latest version of Destiny 2, which requires additional resources to ensure the map works correctly for multiple game modes and playstyles for years to come. So we're gonna top this off, and then I'll get your thoughts on this.
Okay.
With that said, we have some exciting content coming to PvP this month that several teams have brought to life, as well as an update on our advances in game security to combat cheaters, a preview of upcoming Sandbox shakeups, and more details coming next week on how the general PvP Sandbox gear and ability balance will evolve. For Season 22, we have a new Vex Network-themed map debuting along with the new Relic 6v6 mode, the gunplay-focused Checkmate modifier for multiple modes, a new competitive Ascendant Division emblem, and more. Relic and Checkpoint will both kick off in Crucible Labs throughout the season so we can gather feedback on how they are received. We'll have more to show in the share case, but let's dive in a bit more. So we can start. They talk about the map. They talk about the map stuff here.
Yeah.
what do you think? So they were saying they set some expectations with the studio structure can do the other stuff like quality of life, weapon tuning, new rotator playlists. But in order to make new Crucible maps, they have to trade off multiple teams from PvE content, exotic missions, new destinations, etc.
Yeah, it's a rough paragraph to read because of the especially because of the opening. You feel like you're gonna get a delivery on them. Like, we hear you. This is the thing that you guys want the most, and then it's followed up with, we can't do that.
Yeah.
You know. And I do appreciate the honesty. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't mind the honesty here, where Joe's just saying, listen, we just don't have people to spend on that. Like, I wish he would have said that 3 years ago when PvP maps
Right.
stopped being a part of the regular content drops. Um,
Mm.
if they had said that then, that would have set them, we would have had a realistic expectation during the course of these last 3 years as a PvP community. But they didn't. So I don't mind the transparency there, but
Yeah.
something changed because it didn't used to be that way. Because it used to be
No.
you'd get 3, 5, sometimes 7 new maps in a year. And those other things didn't suffer. We still got major content drops for PvE, raids, dungeons, exotic missions. All those things still happened alongside the PvP maps. So at this point, we kind of just have to read between the lines. It just sounds like they moved a lot of people off of Destiny. If there are no longer enough people to juggle all that content anymore, then they had to go somewhere, and they're not here.
Also, their
So maybe
priorities of developing Destiny, I think, have changed. Like,
they have.
as a player, you can see that more and more of the cool stuff is going to the Eververse store. It's more
Mm.
focused around making money through microtransactions, and it's like I mean, obviously, they can't think of a way to monetize PvP because otherwise, I think you'd see more of a focus on it. But it's like if you sell the
Yeah.
maps for money, then you segregate your PvP community into the people who have and the people who don't. You have to have separate playlists. That's bad for the community because it's split into smaller groups when matchmaking can be an issue already. And that's a real bummer.
So there are a lot of people who will say, why don't you just hire more people? And I do have a little bit of information about that. And this was when Joe Blackburn was tweeting August 4th, 2021. So almost exactly 2 years ago. And this was a big tweet thread that he did. And it was, he did say that it can be risky to talk about things in the oven when things are always changing. But one thing that he did say is one way to hold me accountable by looking at our careers page. We're looking for environmental artists, gameplay designers, lighting artists, and more to help improve our PvP output. We know you want more Destiny, and we are committed to growing the team that's going to make that possible. So, 2 years ago, they were clearly looking for people, more of the people that they mentioned in this state of the game, to put them on making Crucible maps. And now I'm not saying that this was a lie or like many reasons could be why this didn't end up happening. Like if you're hiring for an environmental artist, for example, and an environmental artist quits, you're probably going to put that person into the hole that that person has left through quitting. But
Or
something
if an
clearly
environmental
happened.
artist moves to a different team to work on a different game.
Well, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with all of the marathon stuff. I mean, clearly Destiny is the only thing making Bungie money right now, and it's a very expensive game to make, so they can't just be like, "We got Sony money, we can just chill for however long until Marathon comes out." Um, but yeah, something happened because they were specifically looking for people to help improve their PvP output.
Yeah, this is disappointing.
Did the PvP content drop? I've never paid attention to PvP in this game. I'll be real. Did the content regularity stop when they split from Activision?
Not immediately.
Well, I mean, there would be an inherent fall off because there would have been stuff
Right.
that would have been in development at Activision that would have come
Yeah.
after they had
Yeah.
left.
And things did start to taper off, but Bungie was always pretty adamant that there was going to be a little lull, and then they're going to get back into things.
Right. Okay.
And that just never really. I don't know that those two things are a direct correlation. I think that
Right.
there's some overlap there for sure, but undeniably, uh, Bungie, from the top down, made a decision to stop investing in PvP.
Mhm.
To the degree that they used to be invested in it.
Right.
Yeah, it's disappointing because we've heard that thing a lot, right? Where we're hiring more people to get the foundation right, and then we're gonna start adding new things on top of that foundation. And we've kind of heard that for many years now.
Mm.
So to then, you have the state of the game come out and they're like, hey, we literally don't have the resources to make a PvP map unless we take resources away from PvE stuff that people like. So it's definitely disappointing for sure. They've been hiring a lot of people. Um, so it does make you wonder where it's going.
It's a bit of a bummer because like the actual player base that's divided into the PvE PvP slice is pretty much dead even.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like alienating half of your player base seems like a pretty like rough way to go about it. Like I would think that like the logical thing here would be to like, okay, we have a PvE focused season. Okay, now we have a PvP focused season. If you want to keep people like relatively happy, like obviously the PvP people are going to be a little bit bunk when the PvE season comes around, but like to have nothing just feels like a really weird way to go. Like it just
does
feels really
feel
weird.
right? To just kind of drop it when so people it's split pretty evenly when there's not a whole lot being done for PvP. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
imagine how big that could potentially grow or how much
No
money
doubt.
these players could spend if it was supported more. So it is strange to just like cut it off and be like, no, we're good.
Yeah. What I was hoping would come about from this, and this is something that I've been kind of wanting for a really long time. This is just my own personal thing, but we might have talked about this the last time I was on. The reintroduction of pinnacle weapons in the playlists to get people motivated to go get those things, because there was undeniable that like those weapons breathed an insane amount of life into
Yeah.
those core activities.
That process was wild too, if you think about it, because we went from pinnacle weapons, right? And they were really powerful in the
Mhm.
season, and then they got nerfed the next season and made room for the new pinnacle. And it broke some stuff. I respect that. But they dialed pinnacles back to ritual weapons. And the first time we had ritual weapons, I don't know if you remember this, all three vendors got their own one, right? Like
Mhm.
there was a different one at Shaxx, different one at
Yeah.
Zavala, different one at Drifter.
Mhm.
And then over time, it was just a couple seasons after that, they're like, nah, it's just going to be Zavala's. And the other vendors can have a different ornament for that thing. And so
Mhm.
it just, yeah, you got less and less and less. And it happened very quickly.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's PvP maps.
I mean,
It
we are
kind of
getting one new map.
we are getting one new map. I don't know how many new ones we would get after this because in the previous state of games, when they've talked about like maps and stuff like that, they've always kind of looked to the future of what you can maybe expect or what we want to do at least. But they didn't mention the future of maps at all this
That was
time.
a major red flag. Is that they were like, we are finally gonna give you a new map, and then there's no talk about future development whatsoever.
Well, it's prefaced by
No
saying
promises, no hopes, no nothing.
the paragraph where they talk about they are going to give us a new map is prefaced by saying how hard it is to give us new maps and why they don't do it. It's like they're
Yes.
like seriously like setting you up like like hey, here's a new map, but don't expect too many of these.
Yeah, I would say just if I were to make a guesstimation, if I were looking to read this, I would guesstimate that it's probably going to be a year to 2 years before you ever see another singular new map.
Yeah.
Because stuff takes time to develop, and if they're not talking about it, it's probably not in development.
Yeah. It almost kind of feels like it's a backhanded, we've heard you bitching and whining and complaining about this thing. Fine, here you go. We finally delivered. Stop bugging us about it, kind of a thing. Like that's the way that this feels. I'm not saying that's the intention.
I can totally see where you get that. Yeah, where
But
it's like it's really hard. There's always stuff we
Yeah.
do. We're like,
It's
here's
like,
a map.
we made stuff work for you. enjoy your fucking shitty spaghetti. Like that's what it. And I'm not, again, that's not what I'm saying. Like they're saying, but
Yeah.
that's the way it feels after hearing the first 2 paragraphs and then getting to like this big one, this last one, where it's just like, here you go.
And so I want to say something real quick is that I think a lot of us understand that game dev is hard, that it is expensive. None of this is easy, but that's unfortunately not the player's problem. And the players
Yeah.
can be understanding so they don't, attack the developers and they
Yeah.
can understand as much as they can. But it's ultimately not the problem when, 2 years ago you were saying that you were hiring people specifically to improve the PvP output on maps. And then 2 years later you're like, making maps is like really hard and expensive and it takes away from PvE, so we can't really do it that much. Like that's ultimately not the player's problem, and players are going to be upset when you've really said you're going to do something and then you don't do it. And we unfortunately have seen that quite a bit from Bungie over the last year or so, that it says more of it in this article, that they've said they're going to do something and then they don't.
Yeah, we were supposed to get new armor sets every year for all the activities for each individual one, I think, right? And then that turned into one
it's a new
homogenized armor set.
And they have
And then,
they have ornaments.
I got
going.
comments on that too when we get there.
Me too. Me too. Oh, me too. Me too. So this is what they say about the new PvP map called Multiplex, and the map visually looks cool. It's
It
very
does
hard
look
to
cool,
say how
yeah.
it's gonna play. All I can say is warlocks are gonna fall off. Warlocks are
Stupid
floating
warlocks.
to their death. For our new PvP battleground, we wanted to create an asymmetrical map using a Vex environment as a backdrop that could work well for multiple game modes. With the Vex network playing such a crucial role in the story during Lightfall's year, we felt now was the perfect time to deliver this map. Although many of us have been thinking about a lo-fi Vex map for the Crucible, the challenge of this palette was the possible lack of player orientation in the playspace. We thought bringing the Mars palette into the Vex network realm would be a great way to mitigate this while adding an evocative look. Narratively, the space is in the middle of compiling the Infinite Forest, so this is what you'll see in action. Watch for footage during the showcase.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
excited
just
to see it.
I'm
Yeah,
excited to see it. Yeah. It always, when you play a game for so long, the problem with not getting new maps is everyone has figured it out.
yeah.
And getting a new map is like no one knows where the spawns are, no one knows where people are really moving, and it does definitely freshen up your experience.
It fizzes the brain in a way that a map you've played 1,000 times doesn't, right? Because you're learning, you're trying to move around like an unfamiliar space, but you're also in combat. It's very fun. New maps are key, and I'm excited to play this one. I hope that it's somehow accessible in a playlist that it comes up frequently, as opposed to in the past when they put up new maps and it's like in a playlist that has 15 maps in it and it seems to be like low priority.
Well, they've started doing a lot of map weighting and playing with those ratios, so I'm sure that they'll weight it very favorably.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Next we have a new modifier and a new mode. So these aren't 2 new modes. One is a modifier they can put in like any mode. So the first one is Checkmate. Checkmate is a modifier where rich primary weapon fights can happen more often. The gun skill can be augmented by communication and strong positioning. Primary weapon damage has been tuned to feel different than the rest of the game without being jarring, reducing the gap between the faster killing weapons and the average time to kill, and in general pushing longer range primaries into slower killing profiles. Player health has been increased, all ability cooldowns are lengthened, and special ammo must be earned via gameplay and is not dropped on death. This all results in slightly longer combat encounters that reward skill and consistency. And this is going to be in labs from week 5 to 10. And they're going to start off 2 weeks of Checkmate Control, then switch to 2 weeks of Checkmate Survival, and then 2 weeks of Checkmate Rumble.
This is insane because from the beginning of Destiny, they said we're not going to tune weapons differently in the Crucible. And this is tuning weapons differently in the Crucible.
We saw it with Momentum Control, but the other way with it. And to be fair, Momentum Control is, I think, really fun. Like, as far as game modes go, Momentum Control can be really fun. They're really lightning fast TTKs. It's like SWAT, from Halo. Yeah. So this isn't the first time they've done it. I'm going to reserve judgment until I play it. But
I'm definitely gonna
nothing
check it out
about.
though. Like,
I'll
this does
try
sound
it,
fun.
but it does also sound a little bit like year one. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it ends up ultimately feeling. I like that it's a modifier because it means that they're able to, and they are applying the modifier across multiple different modes. So I guess if it
Sure.
ends up feeling really good, maybe that modifier ends up being Crucible. Possible.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. Next we have Relic, which is a 6v6 party mode where players wreak havoc and destruction on their foes with relic weapons. This includes the Aegis from Vault of Glass, the Synaptic Spear from Season of the Risen, and the Scythe from Season of the Haunted. Each player charges their personal relic energy by defeating opponents with their normal loadout. Upon reaching full charge, players can acquire a relic from a relic depot, defeating relic holders and using the relic to defeat opponents earn points for the team. So, whereas Checkmate is heavily focused on gunfights, Relic is intended to provide light-hearted gameplay that can be enjoyed by anyone, similar to Mayhem and Team Scorched. This is going to be in Crucible lags from week 1 to 4, and then 11 until the close of the season.
Okay.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thing is that it does sound fun. I think I would enjoy it more if it's like thinking Call of Duty kill streaks, right? Where you have to actually
Uh-huh.
get a decent kill streak before you get rewarded for it. If it's just
Hmm.
like you kill 2 people and you can go get a relic, it might be less enjoyable for me. But I could see myself really enjoying it. Yeah, if it's you have to get a decent amount of kills. I'm not asking you to like pop off and go crazy before you get a relic because you're literally earning points with relic kills or
Yeah.
killing relic holders. But just a little bit of gunplay before you can grab a relic.
Just a question.
Yeah.
Did they introduce any like rotator specific game modes into Iron Banner in the past? I feel like they have, right?
Like new
Like
modes.
yeah, like a game mode that you saw in the rotator that was introduced into Iron Banner.
Yeah, we had
I
like
think they just put it
eruption
right
and
into Iron Banner, didn't
fortress.
they?
And...
Okay.
Like
The
the
only
new
the
modes
only
they made, they just put it right in there, I think.
Yeah. I just thinking about this in that vacuum, I would absolutely loathe this if it ever got ported to Iron Banner.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, they don't tend to do like party modes in there. The
Like,
only one
Yeah.
that was kind of like that was eruption,
okay.
which we
Okay. I
found.
think that's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Yeah, we found that eruption worked really well in chaos lobbies.
Yeah.
But once they brought in SBMM, it slowed down way far.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah. I think so my initial reaction to this was who is this for? Because I think that they clearly advertise their game as a PvE game. They clearly put more energy into PvE. And I don't think a lot of PvE players really want to go play PvP. They're just there for like their PvE game and they're hanging out and maybe they go and get some rewards from PvP. And I think that in a time that we're at right now, it might have been a little bit better to use the resources on like a PvP mode for the PvP players that are really loving Crucible and want to play more Crucible rather than putting those resources in another party mode. And I
Yeah.
know they have the checkmate modifier, right? And they're kind of seeing that maybe this is a balance of here's a fun thing and here's like a more competitive thing. But I just feel like I feel like the Crucible players need a bit of help right now. So creating things for them might make more sense.
here's the whole article to me reads a lot like we hear these are the things that you want us to do. These are the things that we can do and are gonna do, regardless.
Right.
And this is like this falls under that umbrella to me, where the things that PvP players are speaking the loudest about are things that Bungie's saying, I don't know about that. And whether it's maps, matchmaking systems, we're going to see in the next paragraph, they're like, no, we're going to quadruple down on what we've got that you guys don't like, and we're going to try and find a way to make it work. In a very vague way, by the way, there's no specifics. Like,
Yeah.
here's exactly what we're doing to solve the problems with the matchmaking system that you guys are having. There's none of that. So it's just a lot of here's what you want, we can't do it, here's what you're gonna get. And this falls under that category to me.
Yeah.
I think it's a good question too. Like, how many of you go into Destiny for like the silly rotator game modes if you're looking to have like a fun, silly game night.
Nope.
No, I don't.
So again, dialing it back to the question before, who is this game mode for? Right? If
It
people aren't
might be
going into this
fun. I
playlist,
don't know,
right?
It could be
but
fun.
yeah,
It could be, right? But again, like the thought is like if you're looking to
Is it
have
a
a silly fun
priority?
time in a video game, are you going to boot up Destiny and go to the rotator playlist?
Are you gonna boot up Destiny?
You're gonna boot up some silly animal game where you can't walk straight. So
Yeah. Like human fall flat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just I don't know if they're making these modes to incentivize non-PvP players to go into the playlist more. I just don't know if that works. I mean, I don't have their data, so I really don't know. And for a while now, whoever is involved in making like the new Crucible modes and new Crucible stuff, I have felt like they've been pretty out of touch, and I don't mean that in the most aggressive use of the saying out of touch, but it just seems like they're like, I really want PvP to be like this, so I'm gonna do this. And they seem to stick to that pretty hard, more so than I've seen before the last like year and a half or 2 years.
I was listening to a developer interview for a game that it was kind of like a Pong kind of clone, but like modern graphics and everything. And they were talking about how like they had this like basic Pong clone that was really fun to play, but then they added in game modes that were like they're like adding things to it, and the developers all loved the extra game modes. But once the game was released, nobody played any of the extra stuff. They just wanted to play like the basic Pong mode because that's what they came here for. And what they realized later was that the developers were just sick of the basic Pong mode, so they were looking for any diversion when they were playing like internal testing.
But it was out of touch with what their players wanted.
The
Their
players just
consumers,
wanted
yeah.
the basic Pong mode.
We just want to play Pong, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Pete puts it well in chat. He just said, "You know what I enjoyed for almost a decade? Control." And they've done everything to make that nearly unplayable for me this year.
I do like Control.
Yeah, and Pete's absolutely right, 100% right. And this article just kept wearing me down until finally a little bit later in the article they're like, "Oh, and we're gonna do a new mode in Iron Banner in season 20." And I was like, "Bro, just stop with the modes. Stop. It's just you guys have just been releasing mode, and none of them are like who's out here saying I love Iron Banner Fortress, man. I can't wait to be playing Eruption some more." Which I mean, the matchmaking has something to do with that. But all this to say, like, they just keep throwing out new modes, but that's not what people are wanting. And you're
Modes
absolutely right to say that it feels like a wasted resources. The only mode that they brought that people got excited about for a while was Supremacy, which was a Destiny 1 game mode, and it was connection-based matchmaking. And people loved it, and then it was gone.
Modes aren't by themselves enough to really refresh, unless it's like something like really revolutionary, like Trials of Osiris, like where it literally is like a completely fresh idea in like the gaming space in general. What I really am looking for to rejuvenate my love for Destiny PvP are definitely maps, but also like new weapon archetypes, because putting new perks on a hand cannon I've been using for 10 years does not stir the juices anymore. It does not fizz me up anymore. Like we need like brand new stuff. And I'm not saying like looking stuff. I'm saying like it needs to act in very different ways, because we've been using the same basic gear for a long time.
Yeah.
You're talking about the silly shit like Warden's Law, right? Where it shoots 2 bullets instead of 1?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about like the basic loadout of a Guardian, like hand cannons, submachine guns, pulse rifles, auto rifles. Like, like there are small differences between, the new stuff and the old stuff, but essentially it's the same stuff,
Yeah.
And like, like some of it has better stats than other stuff, and some of it, and we've got new perks that we never had before, but it's still like essentially feels like the same sandbox I've been playing for nearly 10 years.
Do you think you could revitalize that sort of feeling of having a diverse sandbox in like a in the way that you want if you were to get something like an absolutely just silly perk on an archetype that it shouldn't be on, but it's there just for
Nah,
fun.
perks don't do it. No.
Or perks don't do it. So not even something like if you were to put Desperado on like a, I don't know, a fully automatic sidearm.
For
something like that.
diehards
I don't
and
know.
committed players, yeah, I mean
don't
they
know.
might
I'm
really
just-
get
I'm
down
throwing
with
shit out
that.
there.
But and they did put Desperado on a sidearm,
Yeah.
Liminal Vigil,
Yeah,
which
they
was
did.
cool. It was
That's
cool.
Right.
But that's like for your hardcores to go that are both the kinds of players who farm dungeons and play PvP. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I think what Briar's talking about is just more broad things to
Okay.
shake stuff up. You know, and I could totally get down with. I know this is sort of controversial and stirs up opinions, but I could get down with a hard reset.
Oh yeah.
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 I could get down with that.
Yeah.
I'm to that
Yeah.
point. I love collecting my gear, you know, and that doesn't have to go anywhere. I mean, the D2 servers can stay up, and all that stuff you've worked for 7 years is still there for you to play with. But I could totally get down with a complete reset where you're back to square one, new guns to chase, new archetypes, new everything. We're all figuring it out again, because I feel like some of the most fun times, even in PvP, are times of discovery,
Yeah.
where
It is.
the
Yeah.
meta isn't solved. We don't all know the math and all know the perfect perks, and you know what I mean? Because even now, when a new hand cannon comes out and you see the perk pool, you already know exactly what you want to get on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, that's why
It's-
maps are so important, right? Because it hasn't been solved yet, so
Yes,
it freshens it up.
exactly.
It's actually an interesting comparison. A lot of the stuff that you can get in Diablo 4 is the exact same shit that you can get in Diablo 3. Do you know how many people I've seen complaining about the fact that you can get the same fucking thing for the same class?
Yeah, but most people haven't been playing Diablo 3 for
Like-
the last 10 years straight. Most people.
Oh,
There
some
are
people
some
have.
people have. But
Some
most
people definitely have. But yeah. It's just, I don't know. I think it's interesting.
Shall we go to
Continue.
matchmaking
Please.
improvements? Okay. Our quest to constantly improve matchmaking is always ongoing, and in Season 22, we're modifying our loose skill-based matchmaking settings for Control and Iron Banner. These new settings will look to improve matchmaking times and experiences for players who find themselves at the upper or lower ends of the skill spectrum, and for those playing in low population regions or times. The team is also adding loose fire team based matchmaking to the Crucible rotators, including lamps, to ensure players are evenly matched against similar fire team sizes without the need for a freelance node. Additionally, we'll be tackling an issue with lobby balancing that can misallocate players over certain skill levels.
I'm gonna start on a high note.
Yep.
I will throw them a bone here. I would say of all the matchmaking changes they've implemented over the course of the last year and a half, team-based matchmaking is good. It is nice, especially as a solo player, that I no longer encounter 6 stacks. It's a very rare thing for me to be the fill for a team of 5 queuing against a team of 6. This doesn't happen very often. It used to be something that happened fairly regularly to match groups of players, 4 plus. But I'm totally behind. I think they've done a great job with fire team based matchmaking. I think that's where the good ends for me. The
Yeah.
first part of that paragraph where they talk about trying to mitigate the issues for players that are on certain ends of the skill bracket, whether you're on the high end or the low end, or you're in a different country. They basically admit things are not working properly. The matchmaking system is just flat out not really working for you folks. We're going to try and do some stuff to make that better. That's very vague. We don't know what that is. There's no
Yeah.
specifics. But this is also what they said before the last changes. They said the exact same thing. And one of the things that pushed me over the edge, and Briar's asking with your dip and what's that about? I still have issues where I will queue at high traffic times during the day. I'm talking like noon, 1 p.m., and then 7 p.m. to midnight. And I'll queue into lobbies that it can't even get 12 people. It's a 5v4. It starts the match as a 5v4. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what gives? I mean, they literally said we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. We've already heard that exact thing that they just wrote. We've heard that before, and it didn't fix it. So I don't know. I'm not very optimistic about that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because like they don't give any specifics. So it's like, okay, you're modifying loose skill-based matchmaking to make it better. That's cool, but I don't really have any specifics about it. And then the lobby balancing thing, like they don't even give. I don't need like straight math of what you're doing, but what do you mean lobby balancing misallocates players over certain skill levels? Like, what does that actually mean? Like, what is happening, and
Yeah.
what's your goals to change that? Because I don't even really know what their goals are. It just says we're tackling an issue. Well, what is it? What are you doing? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to take a lot from this. I honestly would actually really like them to try, just even if it's a lab mode or just for a season or something, no skill based matchmaking, but fire team based matchmaking.
Yeah.
Because I think it is significantly less frustrating if you are a solo player on any, skill spectrum to just not go up against 6 stacks that are going to stomp you. So I would love to see what the community just felt like that across all skill bands of just fire team based matchmaking and no skill based matchmaking. But I don't think they're ever going to do no skill based matchmaking. They seem
I
very locked
think
in.
they are so committed to it. They're very committed to it. And the thing that's just whack to me is that they are openly admitting there are issues with it for certain types of players, and it's not the common misconception of, oh, you're playing people your skill level and you don't like not stomping noobs. It's no, that it's just not working. Our connections are bad. Our lobbies are not complete. The lobby balancing system is off, and so it makes for lopsided matches. It really is fundamentally just not working for certain folks, and they still stay committed to it. And unfortunately, the people that it punishes are the people that support PvP the most. And so that's where the disconnect is to me.
Not really much
This
about
is
the
a
match.
tough article to read. Like it really is.
But it's also, I think a lot of it could have just been in a TWAB. Like, let's hear from the teams about some stuff that they're doing or something. I think
What's
for the
cooking,
state of the
yeah.
game, I think for state of the game, we kind of expect a little bit more of a deeper dive into the retrospect of what things have happened, what things have worked, what things haven't worked, what their goals are.
Yeah.
And there's honestly not really a lot of that in here. It's a lot of telling us stuff that we already knew. There's some new stuff in here, but it is a lot of like, here's what's coming to Destiny, which we already said, but here's the dates, which seems very twabby rather than stay in the game.
Yeah, I agree. This whole thing could have been a twab, and I was not coming into this as a negative Nancy. Like, I was genuinely excited to read this article. I honestly, I even said beforehand, I was like, I got full confidence Bungie's going to write the PvP ship and get things going. Like, they'd be crazy not to, right? I still had faith in him, but I don't know. But I was very disappointed.
You would think that, like, I know that they're going to be wildly different experiences, but like you would think that you would want to incentivize and build up a PvP community before you're about to launch a PvP exclusive only game, and then be like, hey, you love what we got here, go check out this other fucking hot shit that we got cooking for you, right?
Yeah.
But instead it's, hey, PvE's better, Lamau, we can't make any more shit, suck it, idiots.
Rin, my suspicion with no evidence is that the people who gave a shit are now working on a marathon.
Yeah,
people who gave a shit about PvP they're now working on a PvP game, and that's why
I gotta be careful. I can't agree with that in full confidence, because I personally know some folks who work on PvP who are extremely passionate about it.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Who care very deeply about PvP. I just question if they're getting the support that they need to do the things they want to do, to enact on their vision for PvP. Because my assumption is that the front office at Bungie, again, this is speculation, but the way that it reads is that the front office for Bungie is like, listen, PvP is free to play, baby. If we're not making money directly on PvP, then we're not spending money and resources on it. The stuff that's making us money is our seasonal content, our raids, our dungeons, our major DLC drops. And so since there's no PvP content looped into that other than Trials of Osiris's paywall, then I think that the front office is just not going to support the people who want to build PvP there, Bungie.
Yeah, that's how it reads to me. It seems because, again, I know that there are a lot of passionate developers who play a lot of Destiny and they love Destiny and they want to make Destiny really good. And it just makes me think that maybe they aren't being listened to fully. Because I'm sure, like, they would say a lot of the same things that we have said, right? Like for the Relic mode, for example, I'm sure there was someone who was like, maybe we should do a mode that's dedicated for the people who really love PvP and are sticking around to give them
Yeah.
another 6v6 mode to play. There's got to be someone who said that for sure. But clearly they were not listened to and they went ahead with doing whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah.
I would be very curious to see the analytics of the number of people that buy into the season pass or that don't buy into the season pass and exclusively play the PvP side of things. And if that disparity is large enough, right? Why not just make it so that every season you put a map in that season, you tie it to the season pass. There you go. There's your
Because
monetization
you split
scheme
your
for
player base. If you have
Right?
some people that have this new map and some people that don't, then any playlist that map is in is gonna have to be separated into two groups of players. Those that have and those
Right.
that don't. And like we've already got matchmaking problems, and we've already got like problems with like how long it takes to be match made. That's just gonna add to that problem because now you've got two smaller groups than you had when you had one big group. That's why it's
that
so
is definitely
hard.
the challenge.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah,
I
no
can
doubt.
recognize that as an issue, but I think I think that issue is a lot easier to handle than radio silence for 3 straight years.
Yeah.
Right? Like I feel like if this is just in my mind, I feel like it would be a lot better for the community that continuously play the game in that fashion to have something worth looking forward to, right? Like something to grab onto and be like, this is my PvP thing. Yeah, sure, we get this other crap that's PvE stuff in the season pass, but at least I got my thing, right?
Yeah.
And like Bungie does yearly sales with all of their shit. So like at some point in the future, like you have that, you can like compile the year's worth of maps that are tied to those season passes and then just have them purchasable for like $10 at the end of the year. So you get all of them at the end of the year, $10. Now you're caught up with everybody else. Yeah, you're a little bit behind, but like it would be a way, right? But this is just kind of like hypothetical bullshit, which doesn't really mean anything.
But I do agree with your point though that that's a more solvable problem than not making
just
content for
doing nothing.
PvPers. Yeah.
What's going on with the Vanguard playlists?
Well, this just has more to come in season 23 before we get to Vanguard.
Okay.
Looking further ahead, we're planning to deliver a new Iron Banner mode for season 23. And I know TV, we had this discussion at the podcast some point where it's like, why are you making all these modes just for Iron Banner when like most people are playing 6v6 all the time? And Iron Banner is 3 weeks out of the year, 3 weeks out of the season.
I think you're focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah, it's pretty much how I felt for a long time, was where I'm like, hello, you should be looking over here, not over here. Anyway, but they're also bringing a brand new Hake aggressive frame strand pulse rifle for the competitive division weapon reward. I am looking forward to that.
I dig it.
Yeah, I'm
I
excited.
am a little worried though because there is an omission here, and maybe I missed it. But are we not getting a new comp weapon in season 22?
It says the Mercurial Overreach adaptive frame arc sniper rifle will remain available through season 22.
But that's not even all that good.
You're like, but
well,
that
what
gun
you're
sucks,
gonna
Bungie.
get.
I don't like it. I want a different gun, Bungie.
No, I'm
the
excited
comp
though.
frame,
I like pulses. I like strand weapons because they integrate with my strand builds. So
Yep.
I think that strand is one of the best elements for direct relationships between your gun element and your subclass. There's a lot you can do with strand weapons. So I can get down with that.
And they're also refocusing their map reprisal efforts on porting the Citadel from 2018 to the Crucible in season 23. This is the Dreaming City map that he says we all have fond memories of. All I remember is people being pissed. But we're like, this would be a great Rift map.
Was that the map with like the long hallway that kind of almost went all the way across the map? And then
Yeah,
it also
long
had like this
hallway
kind
on
of
the
side
outside.
with like some like gazebos.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
yes.
And
That
then
was
the
the
rock
gazebo
tunnel
map.
that no one went in.
That's the thing. See, I always thought Citadel had the potential to be a really good map if they worked on the map flow, like how the
Right.
map played. Because there's a ton of unused space on it, like a
There is.
ton.
Yep.
Like literally
Mhm.
half that map doesn't get used, and it's beautiful. I think it's beautifully
It is
designed.
a beautiful
So
map. Yeah.
I can get down with it if they find a way to shake up how it gets played. But at
I've-
this point, I'm just kind of missing a lot of the maps that we lost. I loved Death Donut, like
Yeah.
Retribution, especially after they
That's what I'm
reworked
saying.
Retribution. It was such a
This is
fun map.
another long, big map. When I would have preferred that they brought back Retribution or Gamblers, whatever, who's what's it.
It's just
Gambler
crazy to
Slim.
me that we are now in year 7, right? Is that right? We're starting year
Yeah?
7. It
Sounds
launched in
right.
2017, right? How's my math?
Yeah.
Um,
6. I mean, 7 if you round up.
we've got 6 behind us. We're entering the 7th year, correct? That's how that works, right?
Yes.
Beats me.
We've got 6
mathematician
behind
guy.
us. We're in the
This
7th
is
year.
this is how math works. Yes,
I
6
don't
is
know.
completed. We are now moving into 7.
That's right. Yes. And everybody's favorite maps are still the beta maps. Endless
Yeah.
Veil, Javelin 4. Those are still the best maps.
That's
in
crazy.
Destiny 2.
Mm.
That's crazy.
Why did you stop making good maps? Like, what did you do? I don't know.
Well, that's PvP, everybody. Looking real bright out there for the Crucible. As you can tell, it's looking real good. Better than Gambit, which we'll get to. So that's good news.
Cheers, Briar, cheers.
All right.
You say that, and I
Vanguard.
just envision the fucking sea of bodies in Wolong at the starting, like the starting cinematic.
Yep, it's pretty accurate. We should start. We should take that and use that as a Destiny meme. I'd
Mm.
appreciate that. The Vanguard playlists are currently in a solid place with a healthy population, and we have more new additions coming up. First up, Vanguard medals. Vanguard medals will be available in Vanguard Ops and Nightfalls starting in Season 22. After first being introduced in last year's Guardian games and their continued success in this year's event, we've decided to bring them in full time to spice things up in our Vanguard playlist. Medals will contribute to scoring, allowing players to attain higher scores and reputation multipliers by performing unique actions and doing cool things. Our goal here is to reward players for playing well and not require players to go out of their way to grind for score. In short, we don't want you to feel like you have to compromise your build in order to boost your score with additional medals. It's worth noting that some medals will remain Guardian game staples and will not be available in the Vanguard playlist, so don't expect finishers to grant you a medal in Nightfalls. There will be several new medals specific to Vanguard playlists when they launch, and you can expect to see a few more in Season 23. Additionally, the selection of active medals will be determined based on currently active modifiers such as surges to ensure a variety of builds are used for acquiring medals. So there's your medals.
Okay. Why?
So you can get a higher score faster.
Why?
You don't have to like keep dying and resin your homies. You can get medals.
Reputation.
Yeah, but what do you?
I will say this:
do you-
as a PvP player, if this means I can get more rep quickly in the Vanguard playlist, then that's okay to me because
Oh,
sometimes there's weapons that I want to roll that Shax has or Zavala has. Like the third Axiom is one of my favorite weapons in the entire game. I have about 10,000 PvP kills on that thing. But a couple seasons ago, I wanted to re-roll because mine's a 4 out of 5, and I wanted that 5 out of 5. I wanted it bad. And I played a bunch of strikes, and I hated it. I do not like the strike playlist. But
Yeah.
if there's a way for me to get more rep faster, I will take advantage of it so I can roll my third axioms the heck out of dodge. So I'm okay with it. It seems a little like okay, I guess, but sure, I can get down with
Yeah, it does say to attain more reputation multipliers by performing the
Okay.
unique actions. So yeah.
I guess I just like ADHD'd out and I missed that part of the sentence, and it was just like we're adding medals. It's like
Well, I think that's how a
okay.
lot of people do
Like-
feel, especially who
Yeah.
play the strikes
Sure.
playlist. They're like, okay, medals are like, you get a medal and it makes my brain go a little woohoo, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really add much. Again, a
Right.
TWAB kind of thing rather than a state of the
Mm.
game kind of kind of thing.
I can appreciate being able to expedite that grind, though.
Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure. We've also recently focused more of our team's resources into more varied and frequent seasonal activities such as battlegrounds that can later make their way into Vanguard playlists alongside strikes, and eventually serve as new additions to Nightfall and Grand Masters. While this can come at the cost of other content in a given year, we feel this exchange has been worth the extra investment for the overall health of our playlist. That's interesting. Anyway, I'll continue. As a result, we'll have additional battlegrounds coming into the Nightfall and Grandmaster Nightfall rotations in Season 22 and 23 to keep players on their toes before the final shape launches. So they did say that while this can come at the cost of other content in a given year, we
What
feel this
content?
exchange has been worth it. What exchange?
Yeah.
What exchange?
What specifically?
Bungie's over there making Sophie's choice.
They got a philosopher's stone up in that fucking office because they're taking nothing and making something.
It's also just interesting, right? Coming from reading the PvP thing, and we're like, we can't take the teams off of doing PvE things to make you a map.
Yeah.
And then here they're like, well, we can take resources to make
Hey,
more
what
battlegrounds.
PvP?
But yeah, reading that, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. I know a lot of people don't love a lot of the battlegrounds for like GMs and stuff.
No, they weren't designed for it.
Right. Yeah, they're not designed.
They just straight up weren't, so they feel like shit. I mean, that's literally the reason why I abandoned doing the Conqueror chase. I was doing that shit every season. And even if it was the same strikes, I liked doing it because there were new tools, right? Like when Mega Nura came in, I was like, oh, spicy. Let me get some of that up in that fucking bitch, in that fucking whatever. Was it Volta Glass? Not Volta Glass, Glassway, right?
Oh,
But
sure,
I was
yeah.
keen to do that shit. But now I'm just like, I don't want to go fight Biggest Dickus up in his fucking ship. I don't care about him. Like, who cares about this random cabal? This is like, I'm just a dude vibing in a taken ship. Ooh, come and get me. Like, I don't care. I don't know.
Well,
Anyway.
that's all your Vanguard news, everybody. Hey, Crucible did get a pretty big chunk. It got a chunk, although a lot of it was, this is what we've
Excuses.
done. Isn't it cool? We can't do this.
Excuses.
Yeah.
Now, Gambit.
Can't we just
Prepare
skip this
your
part?
alcohol
Bungie
for
does.
Gambit. No, this is important, bro. This is important. As many of you have noticed, we've been quiet on Gambit since last year's overhaul that launched alongside the Witch Queen. In that revamp, the team made significant changes across 5 categories in Gambit. Core, I'm noticing a trend here. Hold on. At the beginning of the Crucible, they're like, this is what we shipped. Wasn't it cool?
We did a bunch of stuff.
And then Gambit is also like, we did a bunch of stuff. And Vanguard's just like, Vanguard's great. Here's what we're adding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just noticed it the thing. Anyway. We made significant changes. Primeval tuning, invasions, ammo economy, and rewards. Unfortunately, these updates didn't move the needle for player engagement.
Yeah.
Although we know our Gambit fans mostly care about new or returning maps.
Both Tony and Steve.
Tony and Steve. This is an area of the game.
Those 1v1s are sick, though, dude.
Okay, I just saw Kim say, look at the flowers, Gambit, with a gun emote. It's pretty funny. Unfortunately, it didn't move the needle for player engagement. Although we know our Gambit fans mostly care about newer returning maps, just like the Crucible fans. This is an area of the game with lower engagement that would take resources away from more popular parts of the game to shore up. While we don't have plans to dedicate more resources to significantly transform Gambit, we do have a few updates planned for the year of the final shape. These include porting the Cathedral of Scars map and its beautiful Dreaming City setting into the latest version of Destiny 2, as well as adding Shadow Legion and Lucent Hive enemy types. Before then, we're making Gambit entirely optional to maximize your rewards unless you're looking for a piece of gear that's specific to the mode. Gambit will continue to serve as a source of exotic engrams via weekly challenges. Though as mentioned above, you'll be able to complete all your weekly challenges in any ritual you'd like starting in Season 22. If you want to stick to Vanguard or Crucible challenges without touching Gambit, now you can. We're also reducing the number of Gambit-specific seasonal challenges starting in Season 22. So players won't need to bank motes to be able to earn the big purse of Bright Dust for completing nearly every challenge in the season. Finally, we're adding Fireteam Matchmaking to Gambit next season, which will replace the freelance node and should result in faster, better matchmaking by combining both Gambit playlists. We'll keep an eye on reception and player engagement after these additions take place, and we hope you'll visit Drifter.
I don't want to
Or
dunk
his-
on Gambit. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
But this is the biggest. This is the biggest improvement to Destiny, like as a player, that I can even imagine. It's not even that I don't have to play Gambit because I don't want to. It's that I can play what I want to play.
Mm-hmm.
I can interact with Destiny how I want to interact with Destiny. That is a huge change moving forward. I think this is probably the biggest news, like the biggest positive news in this state of the game is that, look, I don't like doing the strike playlist, just like TV. I cannot stand it. It's just so boring to me. And Gambit, I don't like. I used to like it, but it just got, again, boring to me. So if I can just progress through my journey of Destiny and not have to be like forced into these playlists that I don't want to do, like that improves my. It makes me want to play Destiny as opposed to thinking of Destiny as a chore.
Sure. Yeah. But I also think that it's probably going to be overall bad for Gambit because now, without forcing people to go into Gambit, the Gambit
is not my stepkid. I don't give a fuck if it's bad for Gambit.
I know you don't. I don't either. Listen, I don't either. But my Gambit stands out there are probably like, no, our people to play against. No.
This is genuinely like pretty sad if you are one of those people because Bungie's essentially saying that Gambit's on end of life support, right?
Sure.
You don't have to play it. Nothing is going to be centered around it. We don't plan on really doing anything. Here's an old map and we'll put some of the newer enemy types in there.
That map is really pretty.
It is pretty. I do like it.
I hate what this is going to do to the game modes themselves. Because, like, so it kind of goes back to the thing that I was talking about earlier with, like, pinnacle weapons. I think that was a really good way to get people into the playlist and be invested in them. Because, like, there were some cool weapons out there that were like, holy sheesh, like Wendigo, right? Or there were a couple of Gambit, 21% Delirium, I think was another one. That was Gambit
Delirium
only.
was dope.
Right? Like, it's cool that you can play the game your way now, but also at the same time, you got to add something back in to get people invested into actually going into those playlists if you want them to actually survive. This is going to literally murder that playlist.
It could, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely
Like,
could.
I can't say definitively it will. It very likely will murder it.
I don't know. The Gambiteers are resident bunch. They'll be okay.
It makes me sad. It kind of makes me sad.
It is pretty sad because Bungie hasn't straight up come out and said some of this stuff before, so they are being like, you don't really have a reason to play Gambit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I also understand them not making more stuff for the stuff that isn't succeeding. But then again, it's not succeeding because you're not giving people a reason for it to be. You're not giving a reason for it to exist. So.
Yeah, it just feeds into each other, right? And I think what's kind of funny reading the Crucible and the Gambit stuff is that the Crucible is clearly very successful, but they're like, well, we can't afford to do it. And then with Gambit, they're like, it's not successful, so we're not gonna do it.
I know. It just doesn't match up, does it?
So you just can't do it if it's not PvE, basically, no matter how popular.
If we can't make money off of it, then why do it?
Right.
The
other thing that I know that Bungie operates on, just because they historically have done this, is that like every single decision that they make is metric motivated. Like they love their metrics, right?
They do, yeah.
I really do wonder how many people only go into the Vanguard playlist because they start New Light and they're like, what do you do? Vanguard. Go do your weekly, go do your Vanguard stuff, right? And so like a large portion of the player base, that's all they do because that's all they know that exists, right? They get their friends, they go do some Vanguard stuff, and then they fuck off, right? Maybe they might do a raid or two.
Excuse me,
maybe they might do a little bit of PvP.
They make you talk to Shax, okay? You have to go talk to him, all right?
Listen,
you gotta have a conversation.
That's great. That's great. But it makes me wonder, like, is this the reason why the dialogue behind Vanguard is like, Vanguard's great, everybody loves it, everybody's playing you've got 100% of the new light people playing Vanguard. It's like, well, because you make them.
And that it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Well, they make us
you
play
re-
Gambit as well.
Do they?
Well,
I thought you had to do Vanguard stuff in order to do anything else before like the actual worlds open up, or is that not the case?
I haven't been
Or did
in
they
that
change
spot
new
in a
light or
while.
something? I don't know.
I don't think you have to do Gambit for that, do you?
I don't
No.
know.
I don't know, it's been a
I'll
while.
let you know. I'm on
Yeah,
my new light
why?
Yeah.
Titan. I'll play it all. I'll let you know.
Hell yeah. Science. Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah. But you talk about being metric driven, and it's interesting,
Mm.
the PvP community has constantly been asking for metrics that support recent decisions,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and they never give them.
You gotta be a
No.
stockholder.
They-
You gotta be in the
that one
boardroom to get
time-
that metric.
There was one time they let a metric out. We were like, prove to us that these metric systems are helping PvP. And they're like, 50-50 win rate is looking better. And it's like, what? What?
It definitely
no.
feels like a.
Are more people playing? Are they playing longer?
That
That's
is
what we
what I
wanna know.
wanted to know for a very long time.
They're
I've
like,
wanted
this
that.
obscure metric.
It definitely feels like a. Trust me, bro. I am my
Yeah.
own source.
Yeah, it really does. Like, I will seriously, I will stop complaining and move on. If you can show me, Bungie, definitively that these systems are better for the overwhelming majority of players, are playing more, and they're sticking around in PvP longer than they used to be, that these changes have actually improved the overall health of PvP, I will shut my mouth, eat my words, and say, you guys are doing what's best for the community, and I have to accept that that's not me, and move on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah.
But they've literally never done that. And that's kind of sus to me.
It's a little sus, man. Oh, here we go. Armor set reward.
Here we go.
Right. Strap it.
Oh,
Get
boy.
another beer in you.
Oh,
I
That's
only
more
brought
whiskey.
3 up to the office.
You need more. We might need to get you some beans.
For
Right,
context,
You're on your
for,
third beer. I haven't even finished my one whiskey.
for context, for those of you that don't know where we are in this article, we have gotten a little bit over 33% through.
Yes.
Just a little
already
bit.
10.
Although some of it is faster because it's like, here's a quality of life
Yeah.
thing, and we'll
Yeah.
go, cool.
Yeah, they led
Instead
with
of
the
having
heavy
a
stuff.
massive
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, armor sets. A long time ago, we shared a plan to address concerns on reward balance. Players have pointed out that we didn't release a new armor set for the ritual playlist, Vanguard, Crucible, Gambit, with Lightfall, as previously called out in our yearly release schedule. Delivering ritual armor sets at the rate we have in the past has become increasingly challenging, especially considering these sets have historically had very low adoption by players as both base armor and cosmetic ornaments. I'm going to stop there because Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's because you give us Cinder Pinion. And then Eververse gets the dopest stuff in the world that looks amazing. It's like, why are we gonna equip Cinder Pinion when
the ritual playlist armor is like basically like blue armor you start the game with. It's not very pretty, I think, to anyone, no matter their taste.
It does have a couple more grenades and pouches on it.
Thank God.
and this
Just
At
letting you can
launch-
hold a few more things.
the only Crucible like ritual armor ornaments I see people using are actually like year one pieces that actually looked really dope and were kind of unique. Like I really love the Warlock one that has like the tubes coming out the back that go down the neck. Looks super dope. And a lot of those early sets like had a giant Crucible logo like off center on the chest, and it looked great. But now I get frickin' Cinder Pinion, which you're right, there are blue variations of that same armor in the game, and it's like, what is you doing, baby? Oh, sweetie, oh, honey. And then they're like, here's the Celestial set in Eververse.
So it doesn't
$20.
look great. So of course people are not going to transmog it. And then the stat rolls are like 52. Why? No one's going to use. It's because you give the armor isn't worth using because it doesn't get high stat rolls ever. and it doesn't look good. So you can't say that, well, we can't make it because people don't even use it. So why am I gonna? It's and then of course this is gonna sting for a lot of people because we're talking about one armor set a year. Yes, for all three classes, but in terms of like Vanguard, Crucible, Gambit, it's just like a decal that's a little different on the armor. It's not like a whole new armor set. So we're literally asking for one armor set a year when you get Eververse, Season Pass, you get like 4 armor sets every 3 months. So it's like, could we just get one a year? One a year that we could play and earn? Just one.
Do you
One.
remember the times when every new like was it the major expansions, you would get a new ornament set for all of the different playlists? My
Yup.
favorite ornament set to this day for Titan is Curse of Osiris Titan feather, like the feather armor.
Yeah,
Instead
that's
of the
good.
fur
looks great,
shit.
doesn't it?
I use that
Yeah, it looks good.
all the fucking time. It is still my favorite set to this day, and they haven't come out with anything since. It's just been like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Curse
It's
of
just like
Osiris had banger shader too.
it sure did. It sure did. The
Like
entire
a Kairos
Vex,
bronze and
yeah. The entire Vex color palette. You have the like 4 different timelines or whatever that you can choose from, which is fucking sick. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's I mean, you used to do it before. You used to do it multiple times in a year. Why can't we just? And I know that they'd shifted to the seasonal model, which has brought some cool stuff with. Like I think this season's armor set is absolutely banging. I think it's great.
It is.
I think
The armor team's been killing it this whole season with like all the armor.
doubt.
It's just it's and I've heard some people be like, "Well, if it's ugly, why do you want it?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a armor set you can earn by playing the game and not just being in a menu and spending bright dust. And it would be available for all of your player base. You know, if it's a free to play game, it's free to play try. It would be nice if people could earn an armor set. You know, throw someone a bone. So I would like to earn something, work towards unlocking something, because that's the most dungeons I've played is when I was going for like the cowboy hat, or I was going for the Ghost of the Deep like full armor set.
Ghost
I
of the
grinded
Deep
it
are
until
so
I had it
great.
all.
Oh,
Beautiful.
love that stuff.
I would love to
I've-
grind Crucible and be like, oh, I finally got the cape of the new Crucible set.
Yes.
I've
This felt
always-
like a hand on the shoulder. It's not me, it's you. That's what this paragraph sounded like to me.
I've always had the opinion that Destiny 2 is in desperate need of cosmetic chases to the degree that like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14 has.
This
The
used to
reason
be
why
what
those
the fucking
games-
game was. This was what the game was. Destiny 1 was you go, you do a raid and you get the armor. You go, you do this, you get the armor. You get all this cool shit. And then, you know, we got Chroma and everybody's like, oh, hey, this is like a slippery slope. No, it's not slippery slope. It's just glowy shit. You can still earn shit. Now look where we're at.
Yeah.
It used to
Like,
be
The
that
Eververse has ruined more about this game than people realize.
Is that what was that Luke Smith quote? I want to wear Oryx's ass as a hat.
Yeah.
Isn't that what he said? Yeah.
Yep.
And I was
That's
like,
what I want.
yes, that.
Vanguard specific loot, like strike specific loot in Destiny 1 was awesome. Like actually
The
killing the
Scion
enemy.
Cloak?
Yeah, oh my
Yeah.
god, I grinded so hard for the Scion Cloak.
At the end of the game, or at the end of the day, this game is a fashion game first and foremost. I will die on that hill. I think people grind the shit out to get the coolest looking shit. And like, sure, you have the PvP space, which are like they go for the god tier roles, and you have the high like super sweaty PvE people that want to get all the like perfect loadouts for like their 2-second one phase on Oryx or whatever the fuck, right? But for the majority of the people that play this game, it's to look cool.
You
So
still got to
stop
grind to get all
fucking-
this shit. The difference is you got to grind at your 9 to 5 now.
That's
not
right.
your game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It cheapens the feeling of getting it. Sorry.
it does.
mean to
It
interrupt.
does, right? It's the same thing that we've had about like post game drops where you see all the loot that people get and you're like, oh my god, that person got a Gallahorn or whatever. Like that was exciting. And strike specific loot was awesome because you see an enemy and then you get to wear what that enemy is wearing, and that always feels good in every game. If I kill a boss and I get to use their thing, it's always cool. So yeah, I would like more stuff that I earn from stuff actually dropping in the game, not me leveling up and getting to a certain level in a season pass and getting it, not getting bright dust and buying it. I want to earn it through gameplay and have it drop post activity.
Killing a motherfucker with the motherfucker himself is pretty cool.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Pretty cool.
You're so
Yep.
eloquent. Just away with words.
I would watch those lore videos. I'd be able to understand them. It's just like, there's who's a what's ass guy,
Now
and
we're
he
talking.
did some sussy stuff.
I'm in.
Like,
I've done that quite a few times where I've very poorly articulated the entire history of Destiny, and I mean, you kind of know what's going on. You can get a general understanding, but anyway, more about armors.
moving on. At this time, so this continues from it is increasingly challenging to make an armor set a year. At this time, we are amending our delivery plans for how often we refresh these sets and will no longer be creating a new set for every expansion. However, we are prioritizing the delivery of a new ritual armor set alongside the final shape to infuse some new looks you'll be able to show off from your time in the Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit. We're also adding a new armor set for Trials of Osiris, releasing in a few short weeks. And then they show us a little thing of the Titan. Definitely appreciate getting the Trials of Osiris armor set because we were told you're going to get one new armor set a year for Trials, and that time had passed, and we were like, hello, is it coming?
Oh, did you forget? And if there's a one place where they really need to deliver on that, it's Trials, because
Yes.
people do pay for Trials.
Yep.
Like that's the one place where you really can't drop that ball, in
Yep.
my opinion.
Yep.
100%. You got to have the latest expansion. And you got to put some time to level up too, unless you buy some cheats. So
It always seems like people are happiest with Trials too when there is like stuff worth getting because it makes the population so big that Trials playlist is just more fun. So the more cool loot they add to that game mode, the happier everybody is.
You remember when we got like the kitty cat set for Hunter and D1 and all the hype that generated? It's like you were literally shooting yourself in the foot. Like I mean, maybe I'm cynical, but some of these sets that make it into Eververse, if they were obtainable in Trials of Osiris, can you imagine the kind of player activity influx you would get?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? We're just asking for like one of those like many Eververse sets to just be put in the game somewhere.
There's got to be a calculation out there, right?
But we can't even do that.
How much money does Bungie make off of Eververse? How much money would they have to charge like for each expansion to like equal that out? It must be like so high that they just figured nobody will pay for it, right?
Yeah,
because there's so many whales out there who just buy everything.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part of it is that at the end of the day, it kind of ends up feeling like it's more of a business thing where the business wins and the gamers lose.
Right. Yeah.
And the more I see activity that smells like that, the more I start to slowly back away.
Yeah.
Right. Because it ends up with Bungie feeling very corporate, whereas, and I think this is the most corporate we've kind of heard from Bungie in these kind of state of the games, because it's normally like a very personal, like the developers talk in the way they talk. And they've grown pretty large, so I get it. They probably are becoming much more corporate. But you remember back in the day when they had like the Bungie podcast, and it was just them being probably kind of inappropriate, but it was very like they're gamers like me, and they're making games that they want to play, and that was
By
their slogan.
gamers for gamers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And now it feels a lot more corporate.
Matt said earlier today that when he was reading this, it reads like Joe had a bunch of people write this for him on the points that he wanted addressed.
Yeah. And that's kind of what they said as well at the beginning. It's like, I'm like heads down, focused on the final shape. So I bought in a bunch of developers to help me write this, when usually it's just been like the game director talking about some stuff they want to talk about.
Yeah. I do think on the topic of the whole Eververse thing that, like, while I agree mostly in part with what Briar mentioned, I don't personally mind the seasonal holiday stuff, because that stuff you can still get with Bright Dust and you can save up for that shit. That doesn't really bother me too much. It's the new armor set every season that we get that could be put into the game into some sort of activity. That's the shit that bothers me. Because, like, once a year, like usually around the holidays, like, yeah, okay, I got like 30 extra bucks, whatever. I'll get the Christmas set and I'll look like fucking Santa running around as a Titan, you know? Like, that's fine to me. I don't really care. Because you got to monetize it. You got to make it profitable in some way. But to have every season have a new armor set, and then also to have, like, even the sponsored shit didn't bother me. Like when they teamed up with Fortnite and they did those, or like Assassin's Creed or something like that.
Yeah.
And they had those like those themed armors. Like, sure, knock yourself out with that. But like the Celestial Ox set that Titans had, why couldn't that have been a Trials armor?
Dope armor.
Right?
The whole Celestial set was just
like-
killer.
Yeah.
Like why?
And the Empyrean Cartographer set that made it into Eververse, I
That
think that
was
was like
real
what, 2
sick.
years ago or something.
Yeah.
That's to this day some of the best looking armor they've ever made.
That might be
and
my favorite of all time.
I bought it. I bought all of it, and I'm so mad I had to.
Yeah.
I wish it was obtainable in game.
You know,
It's not the
man,
money that bothers me. It's the fact that
Mm.
like, why am I
Affects the
playing
game.
this game if like the best stuff is I just pay for it? Like what
Yep.
what is
Right.
my motivation to play this looter shooter if I'm just paying for everything? Like I'm just buying
Yeah.
it.
not a lot of
It's kind
shooting,
of it'd actually be kind of like if like Borderlands decided to sell the best guns in a store.
Yeah.
Because there's no fashion in that game, right? It is literally just the loot itself. But like I feel like Destiny kind of has a little bit of both, where it's like the fashion
Get your
side, and then you also
unkempt
have-
Herald.
but-
20 bucks.
Get your fucking unkempt Herald and your 92% B shield for $30.
Yeah.
We got you. Perfect rolls. You got all the mods that you want. Like, eesh.
I think a lot of reading this to me, it sounds like Destiny is an incredibly expensive game to make,
Mm,
and they literally cannot keep up with the demands that Destiny has. Like something, it feels like something's got to give, like actually
Yeah.
give, not just like we'll update this thing sometimes. Because if you can't make one Crucible map and one armor set a year, like you physically cannot do that. That seems like something's off.
yeah.
This
Might be tinfoil hat, but
Reads-
maybe free to play was a good thing, but also a bad thing in that regard.
I agree, actually. I
this
think
reads
that
like
a lot of
Destiny's end of
things.
life to me.
Yep.
This is how Destiny dies. Is we're just gonna continually chase this one path that makes us the most money to the exclusion of the joy of our players, which will eventually kill the game. Because there'll just be less and less players who are willing to go on that path with Bungie.
That's been a meme for a long time. The only thing that'll kill Destiny is Destiny itself.
I mean, yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
But they even mentioned like, we're coming up to the decade finale and then we're going to be going to the next decade. So they're clearly planning on making more Destiny. We'll know on the 22nd specifically what their plans are post final shape. But like we said, this is the only thing that is making Bungie any money. If Destiny dies, Bungie would have to close their doors no matter what they're working on, right? Because there's nothing else making money. It's the only thing making money.
Mm.
It's literally the only thing.
Unless they can get Big Daddy Sony to come in with a big fat paycheck and be like, please, can you fund the rest of Marathon, please? But
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's frustrating is that they can do it. Like,
yeah.
Bungie's a killer developer. And that's what hurts the most is that you that's why you stick around. Everyone's like, well, if you hate it so much, just quit. It's like, well, the thing is Bungie makes really good stuff. But they're not making the right stuff right now.
Mhm.
Like, I just want them to start making the right stuff again that they used to be making, because that was killer stuff.
Yeah.
And it's still in there somewhere, guys. Just pull it out.
I think what history shows though, is that we saw this with Curse of Osiris and Warmind, when people vote with their time in the game and their wallet, it makes waves. The only reason we got Forsaken is because people were like, this shit is fucking awful, I'm out. Like, how many people ended up having like a meteoric rise in the content creator space because they were the only people that were covering that shit. And so the people that were, dedicated to the game, they ended up following these other people, and now they have a job because of that content lull, right? That's a thing that literally happened. You could track that shit.
Yeah.
So I at this point, and like I've said this before, I play the game when I want to now, and I don't play it when it's not a job to me anymore, right? I had the same mentality with World of Warcraft way back in the day when I was like, I feel like I'm working a job. I hate this. And then I started playing it whenever I felt like playing it. And now it is genuinely fun. It really is. But I don't play it every day. I play it like I said, the last time I played it was 2 months ago. Part of that's because of Diablo 4 and Remnant, but Like that's it. If you're not having fun, don't like engage in this thing that is bringing you a measure of of unhappiness, of discomfort or whatever, right? Like vote with your time.
Yeah.
Do you
And
think it
maybe
would be
that'll
better for Destiny overall if they abandoned the the seasonal model and went back to doing like major content drops that affected all areas of the game once a year
I would love that.
with some stuff sprinkled in to tie you over throughout the year? Do you think that I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just
Yeah.
proposing the
Yeah.
question.
I would posit a different solution. I think that Destiny should go subscription model and do a monthly subscription where it's similar to like every other MMO that's out there, because that's what they want to be. That's what they're aspiring
Yeah.
to be, is MMO light, right? You want to be able to put out that kind of content with that regularity, you got to go with that model, because that is the only fucking model that will actually make you enough money to continue funding the thing that you are creating.
Yeah.
Like, and
So it's like Disney Plus. You pay your premium every month, you get access to everything in there. Is that right?
yeah, like you have your free experience up to level 20 or whatever that would be the equivalent in Destiny. Like you can play all of everything on the EDZ or in the Cosmodrome, right? So you have all the access to Earth that you want. That gets your foot wet. You can kind of like test out the water, see if it's your thing. And then if you want to buy into it, you can buy the expansions like the Wrath of the Lich King, which would be like the Forsaken Curse of Osiris and all that shit, which can't really be supported. It's not direct one-to-one because a lot of the stuff that we had in Destiny doesn't exist anymore, like Forsaken. Which I think was possibly the biggest mistake that Destiny has made. Vaulting old content like the Red War and like major key points in the entire story was the dumbest fucking thing that they did. I don't know. I think that if this game wants to exist in the way that they want it to, they need to do something like a subscription-based model.
I would gladly pay a subscription, but I'm not going to pay a subscription and have that reverse store.
Yep.
And that's the fair thing to say.
And I know that that's not everybody's cup of tea, but like if they want it to be what they want it to be, that is the only way that I have ever seen it successfully done. So they need to embrace that side. And like I know that that would bring a lot of vitriol and people would be like, I'm not paying $10 a month for this game. It's like, all right, that's fair. That's your prerogative. But if you want to have that measure of content drop, like World of Warcraft gets a new raid every 3 to 6 months now, something like that, which is like a whole new tier, right? Like imagine you getting like the Taken King 3 times a year. That'd be fucking sick, right?
That would be
But
pretty cool.
they can't support that with the amount of money that they're pulling in because they just don't have the resources. So like what we have, I think what the aggressive monetization that you get with Eververse right now is the reason why we get the content that we do now. Because the season pass, I don't think the season pass pays for itself at all.
Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. It's yeah, I don't know. That's my take on it. Like
Well, that's why I was kind of saying that it feels like something has to change or something has to give, right? Because it really seems like whatever they're doing right now is not enough for them to actually support the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough. You want to talk about cheaters?
Sure.
We are
Catapult 'em
an
into the
hour and
sun.
40 minutes into this podcast, and we are halfway through this document. We've got to figure out a way to get through this fast.
We got the Zoom.
We're not going to say much about like a lot of the rest that's coming.
Yeah.
Although the final parts are probably the more positive parts of this whole thing. So. Game security. We don't really need to go into all of this. It's just like essentially people got recovs and the recov person cheated on their account and they got banned. So don't do that. And then they also said that because they adapted their policy to include the abuse of external accessibility tools. It's enabled them to catch cheaters that they may not have otherwise, and they put out their biggest ban wave ever because of all of this stuff. And they're also working with BattleEye to address network manipulation tools. improving data collection, detection, mitigation strategies, and of course they're suing everyone because honestly, like the best way to stop you're never going to be able to stop them. It's always going to be a
Yeah.
cat and mouse chase.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
if you were like, I'm going to sue literally everyone who makes cheats, then maybe people go,
Is that worth
Can't
it?
cheat.
Maybe prison isn't worth it. Yeah.
Also, get BattleEye working on a Steam Deck, please.
True, very true. We have to call BattleEye. And then it just what's happening in the future is just they're just gonna try and make it better. The legal team's gonna sue absolutely everybody, and we're gonna try real hard. Basically, the
Why
stability
is the
update.
legal team not making maps?
Yeah.
That does drive me nuts.
I've
Be like,
seen that.
Bungie's wasted. They're over here going after cheaters and in court instead of making new maps. Like, what do you want the lawyers to make maps?
Use
I've
the money
seen
that the
that.
lawyers are getting from the lawsuits to fund the Crucible maps. Come on.
I've seen that
Pipeline's right
take
there.
a lot, and I'm like, what? You
Oh,
what?
sweetie. Oh, honey.
Yeah. Get the lawyers in. Make them produce some real work. The stability update is a lot of stuff that I don't understand. But they did say that in season 22 launch, they're beginning to do internal chaos testing. And I don't know anything about chaos testing, but I've seen a lot of engineers talking about it, and they're like, this is actually huge that they're doing chaos testing. So
Okay.
engineers seem to think it's a cool thing they're doing that's going to help a lot for Destiny stability. So
Good.
that's good.
I am not a smart man, Jen.
I don't know. I don't know about.
Just imagine Sonic the Hedgehog running around the Crucible looking for the Chaos Emeralds or some
Chaos
shit. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chaos
What is chaos testing?
Is anyone smart in chat can say what chaos testing is in a very dumb way though? Don't explain it
Yeah.
in a smart way. I'm not gonna understand.
Explain it like I'm 5.
Yeah.
Is it just people running around the map beating walls with sticks? Like,
So yeah, stability. They're working on stability.
Good.
Seasonal structure. This is kind of a positive thingy. As we mentioned back in February, we're working behind the scenes to shake up the seasonal paradigm this year to subvert player expectations and make each season feel unique. We know our players are looking for more variety and repeatable seasonal activities, and more than anything, we want to constantly surprise everyone with what comes in the next season. So they're going to talk about it a little bit, but you'll see it in action in the showcase on the 22nd. So they're giving themselves more freedom to stretch narratively and in gameplay systems throughout season 22 and 23. So I don't obviously this could happen and it could be like this sucks, I don't like it, but I like that they are saying we are going to make each season feel unique.
Yeah, that's okay. If it
Okay.
sucks one season, then next season
Yeah.
hopefully it will be different. As opposed to currently, if it sucks one season, well, guess what?
Yeah, currently it's like, well, I know exactly we're gonna go to the thing. It's gonna be an upgrade path. It's gonna be a season. You know exactly what the season is gonna give you. So I would just be happy to not know exactly what the season's gonna give me. That would be great.
I want stuff like what we got in the first year when they did seasons where it was like the Opulence, Drifter, and all that shit. Like when Opulence was kicking its door down, it was like, sup, bitch? Check out what secrets I got up in me, right? And then like you go into the menagerie and you're just like, oh my god, this shit is awesome. And then you have all the people trying to figure out like what the different combinations of the runes were.
Right.
And then I think we got a dungeon drop that year. Was that 0 hour? That was 0 hour that we had that year, right?
Ooh, I don't remember.
Like it was
so good with
cool.
time.
It's like there is 0 life to a seasonal drop now. Stuff drops and I'm just like, okay, more Destiny. But it's in the water. It's like I want Destiny, but like new location. Oh my god, what's this little secret button do? And you find a little data pad in a fucking box at the bottom of the fucking ocean. You're just like, whoa, touch it, and then you get rocketed up to fucking Io, and then all of a sudden you're on this wild goose chase to some other planet off in the system, and then you find this dude who's a talking butt, and it's like, I have a gun for you if you want to do my quest. And
we need
like,
the mystery, excitement, and the not having everything solved and knowing everything's gonna happen. We don't get a lot of secrets and mystery these days.
I've been really enjoying that side of Remnant. Like, like there have been times where I just get sidetracked. I'm like, what's this little thing do? And I'm like, and it ends up taking me down a 45-minute rabbit hole that ends in finding a special weapon mod that's redonkadonk, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I've really enjoyed that. And it's like really puzzles that take things to a new level. You're like, you walk into a room and there's a whole bunch of dead bodies with symbols over them. I have no idea what that means. Then you find a book and then a key like 20 minutes later that you have to inspect. And only when you do that, it flips out another part of the key. And you're like, oh my gosh. Stuff like that. It's like we
Yeah.
don't get any of that.
Mysteries
Mhm.
don't.
and secrets.
That
Yep.
stuff's cool.
It
There
is.
used to
Yeah.
be kind of like more whimsical stuff in Destiny, like just the ghost shells that were kind of hidden around
Yeah.
everywhere, and just kind of like random
The
stuff.
cats that we got to feed.
Yeah.
We got to
Right.
feed the
Yeah.
kitties.
Yep.
We did get Robo Dog. That was nice.
Robodog.
Robodog
That
was
good.
amazing.
Yeah.
The reward there was just you get to pet a dog, and like I don't need. See,
That's
that's
cool.
the other part, right? Like,
You're like,
you
I'm
don't
good with
need
that.
something super incredibly like you don't need some fucking Galahorn 3.0. Just give me something interesting.
Exactly.
I get to see a doggo that's an exo that I can pet and it goes bark. Like that's cool.
I agree.
Ugh.
So we
God.
talk quality of life. These are good.
Right.
These
Briar's
are
gonna
good
fall
things.
asleep, so we got to keep
Yeah.
cruising here.
Quality of life. All right. Cosmetic favoring. You'll be able to pin up to 100 of your favorite shaders, ornaments, and emotes to the top of the list. I mean, frickin' when this thing came out, the very first time it came out, all of us were like, "This is really good. I wish I could favorite some shaders, or have a search bar or something." So this is great that they're adding this. I got nothing bad to say. This is the thing I wanted, and it's happening.
So
We got
Hmm.
stasis aspects and fragments and now being moved to a vendor system because currently you
Good.
have to like go and get a quest and then go grab the things and then do the quest and then turns. Whereas
Yeah.
all the other subclasses you can literally just buy with Glimmer and you're good. Stasis is going to be the same. So I can finally
Good.
finish my stasis fragments because I have not done that.
Same.
Transmats, which is the weird thing that you do when you spawn in and you put it on your ship.
Mhm.
You no longer have to take them out of collections and then put it on your ship. It's going to be exactly like how shaders are. Just the whole everything that
Nice.
you've collected is going to be there.
Good.
Cool.
Cool.
Wish Ender is going to just be a quest now. It's a single quest strand in your quest log, so you don't have all the other
Okay.
heebie-jeebie what's madoos to do. It's just a quest.
Okay.
But the heebie-jeebie what's Medusa were fun.
So eloquent.
And this next thing, not so important for us who have played for a long time. It's going to be really helpful for new players. Resources tab has been added to collections, and this is going to make you able to hover over any resource. It's going to show you all the currencies, upgrade materials, and engrams in the game, and it's going to tell you how to get it as well as what to do when you get it.
That's hella
Good.
useful for me, honestly, because there's so many freaking things.
There
Like I'll
are
be
a
like,
lot.
"What the heck was this? I don't remember." Is
I
this
don't
still...
remember. What do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this still useful, or is this?
Can I
been...
delete this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I still
Gotta
have
get-
that sometimes too, Briar. It's all right.
It's like that pipeline with the synth cord shit. You got to get the cord to get the floss to get the candy to get the thread to get the weave, and then you can make the armor.
Yeah.
How do you get any of that shit?
I don't know.
No idea.
I don't care.
Who knows?
Iron Banner challenges are getting split, with Pinnacle rewards not being as big of a draw as they once were season over season since Season of the Deep began. We felt it was time to split the Pinnacle acquisition and reputation multipliers they added in Season of the Haunted. So next season, Iron Banner will have 2 different challenges, one for players who want just their reputation multiplier, so you can reset to get the new fancy shader, and that you do not have to use specific seasonal subclasses. You can use whatever you want. And then there's going to be one for players who are going after Pinnacle rewards where you do use the seasonal subclasses. Cool. Just like it's a quality of life thing. It's nice. Ritual rank ups immediately. Dating all the way back to Season 3, ritual reputations, previously known as Valor, Glory, and Infamy, waited until you hit Orbit to process any rank ups because the almost full screen banner would overwrite the scoreboard if it showed up earlier. When we revamped and streamlined reputations over the past few years, we moved the rank up banner to the bottom of the screen and made them less conspicuous. But we left the processing of the ranks until you hit Orbit. Now we've finally taken the step, and made the rank up process immediate at the end of an activity so you don't have to wait for your rewards.
Okay.
Cool.
Sandbox update. This is fun. This is cool. And by the way, I got to say, I think the Sandbox team in general has been kind of killing it. They seem to be doing a pretty good job generally, like across the board. They need to nerf Immortal more. Kill it completely. But not bad. So we're getting new strand aspects next season. So Hunter will get Whirling Maelstrom. Titans are going to get Banner of War. And Warlocks are getting Weave Walk. So that's cool. I love aspects change things drastically. I never
Yeah.
thought I'd be a
Mhm.
Bombardiers main, but here I am. I'm a Bombardiers main. So
Bombardiers are fun.
they're great. They one-shot the Antaeus Ward slide in Ass Titans. So
Screw 'em.
that's what I'm saying. Crucible is a lot more fun when you can one-shot the things that you hate the most.
Max.
I feel very
Ex-
hated right now.
You're not an Antaeus Ward Arc Titan sliding with your shield thing?
I used to be.
No.
I mained Antaeus
I've
before they were
recovered.
cool.
I remember
Same.
saying, I can't believe people don't use these, and now here we
Yeah.
are.
Yep.
I was using them when they were first introduced simply because I liked that they made you look like stone. And then I was like, hey, these are kind
Oh,
of cool.
yeah.
And then they reflected a Nova Bomb, and I was like, oh.
And blade
And then I-
barrages and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And fusion rifles and Jotuns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was always fun.
Yeah.
We're getting Exotic Armor Reworks Part 2. We had the first wave of that in Season of the Deep, and we're getting another one in Season 22. This is always great, because you can just change a little bit of a thing about an exotic, and then all of a sudden I'm maining it, and it kind of changes the whole way I build my character.
Mhm.
So I appreciate that. New weapon subfamilies are coming. So they're going to be introducing some entirely new weapon subfamilies with the final shape, and they're going to show that off on August 22nd.
That's interesting.
Cool.
I'm
Cool.
looking
And then
forward to
there-
seeing that.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Mm.
Like a lot of
Same.
this, I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this stuff. This will be fun. And then weapon tuning preview, they are doing some stuff. I don't think we need to read all of this, do we? I don't think we need to. Maybe. You guys scan it. Let me know if you want to.
Reducing the variance of engagement with certain weapons are going to be more viable in certain ranges is what I'm reading. Like they're trying to create a lesser disparity between the two so that you can just
Yeah.
use whatever you want.
I think
They
they're sort
did
of
talk
trying to
about it in the mid-season weapon tuning update, and I think this kind of just goes over what it said in that.
Mm.
I think, from what I can tell. Hey, look, we're almost at the end. Look, we're getting there. We don't need to go into all the detail on this stuff, okay? So,
Yeah, I agree.
reinforcing our goals for the year. They're just saying how far we've come with those goals and where
This
we're
is
going
just-
from here.
This is just a
Patting
bunch
on
of
the
this.
back, yeah.
It is a lot of. I'll just read the bullet points and I won't read like the full thing. So, expand players' imaginations. You don't know what that means. Good luck. Bring challenge back to Destiny. It does say they're a bit uneven on it, but they feel they've achieved this goal. A lot of people don't agree.
Oh. Okay. I don't agree.
3, enrich our content. What does that mean? You do never know. Good luck.
Make it richer. They're gonna make more money off of it. Duh.
More Eververse.
And then they do say they recap the PvP front of like all the things they did. And I'm like, yeah, you don't need to say it twice.
What is
I
this
got it.
Pathfinder thing?
Yeah,
The
this is kind of
Pathfind
neat.
thing, yeah. So this is a new thing. This is the so it said we called out back in February targeting more changes to ritual content. The final shape. So this is final shape stuff. They have
Okay.
plans to replace some bounties with a more rewarding and engaging system, tentatively called the Pathfinder. This is going to be debuted on the new destination in the final shape, and we're currently nailing down a plan for how we can use this new system to replace core ritual bounties in the new year. And it's got a work in progress, and it's like there's an engram at the end, and there's a bunch of like weave-in things on the way to
Right,
it.
spider web of
It looks
progress or something. Yeah.
Kind of like a skill
Yeah.
tree.
It does
Yeah.
look like a skill tree. Yeah.
It's sort of like a pick your own path to get there kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not a prerequisite like tick all these boxes. You must do these things.
Connect our guardians. So they are adding LFG. That is a thing that we should in season 23. Fire Team Finder LFG
It's
will
about time.
We'll be and that's coming in season 23. So that's fantastic, and it will be ready for the final shape. And that's it. We did it. That's it. That's the whole thing.
2 hours later, here we are.
2 hours of us pissing and moaning.
Yeah, that was a rough one. That was a rough one.
Who'd have thought we would be here?
The reason I don't like to
predicted
skip
this.
Twitter questions is because usually we're laughing and giggling the whole time we're doing Twitter questions, and when we do a podcast like this,
True.
it could be a lot. But I mean, we had to
laugh
get
and
through
giggle.
this. We had to get through this.
Yeah,
one.
we
This
did
is
have to
important.
go. It was definitely important. We have the August 22nd showcase coming up. That's
Yeah.
of course we're gonna find out what the hell happens after the final shape, because they did clarify that the final shape campaign and the raid, that's where it ends. They're not telling the final shape story all throughout that year.
That's
It
great.
ends with the campaign and the raid.
It's going to
So.
be hard to satisfy everybody with that.
Yeah. It is gonna be rough. But I think I don't know what they have to do to really push it this time, but they definitely have to.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what takes shape after the final shape. Like, what is Destiny going to be after that? Are they going to just continue on the same path they've been on, but like introducing new villains? Are they going to like fundamentally change the structure of the universe, or what? Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with that.
I'm kind of speculating a thing of like what we see with Fortnite, where it's the same world, but something happens yearly, relatively yearly, where it changes something about the world in like some kind of meaningful way. But it's the same sort of cadence that you get the 4-year cycle, and that's what we'll see going forward.
Maybe.
Very curious to see what's going to happen, and we're pretty much got a confirmation that there's going to be another subclass in the final.
Yeah,
shape.
red, right?
Yeah,
red,
Rojo.
spicy.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, so I think my to summarize my feelings about the state of the game, it just didn't really do anything either way for me. There was a lot of like, okay, and then there was a lot of like, oh, the quality of life, this thing is nice, and I'm really looking forward to the strand aspects. But I definitely hardcore don't agree with some logic behind decisions, like the armor set thing. No one uses it. Why is that? So we're not gonna make it because no one uses it. And then the one map a year, one armor set a year, we can't do it. I'm like, guys are gonna have to figure out a way to make this work, because this is crazy.
Yeah. As someone whose mainstay used to be Destiny, that's what this is. Literally, this game was all I used to stream for like the first year and a half that I was streaming. After being on a like definitive break from the game and just taking it as I've been wanting to, this isn't going to bring me back to the game. Straight up, it's just not. Like, it's just like, okay, cool. This is good for the people that are like either just joining the game or
I don't think
getting
this
their
is
feet
supposed
wet.
to, Rin. I think this might be
I
more
don't think
one
it's
of those things that's like, hey, let's get all the bad news out of the way before this big August reveal.
Maybe.
Like, hey, you know,
It's possible.
there's going to be some stuff that people aren't going to like. Let's get them talking about it for 2 weeks, get it out of their system, and then hammer them with the stuff that like is going to sell the next year of Destiny.
Yeah, and like I mean that in the sense that like in the previous state of the games that we've had before, I've always been like, "Oh, fuck yeah. Okay, yeah, no, I'm on board. I'm on board. Like I'm still invested in this game. I still want to pursue this as like my mainstay, right? The thing that I enjoy the most." And this one, like it's been said many times before, it just felt very corporate. It felt very like hollow. Almost like I don't know.
They said a lot, but they didn't say much.
Yeah.
Well, they delivered a lot of bad news.
Best,
right? Like,
the best way to put it is I feel very whelmed. Like,
Yes.
that's it.
Whelmed is a good word. Yeah, Briar actually gave a lot of us hope with that kind of thing. It's like, hey, they're just getting the bad news out the way, so then we can all be happy for the showcase, and they don't need to say like, hey guys, we're not making any armor set. You know, it's just
Yeah,
they
they
can
don't
say
wanna-
the case.
They don't
That's
want to
actually
talk
a
about
much
how
better way to
Gambit
put
is
it.
end of life during their big reveal, right? Like, let's get that out of the way.
Maybe it is good, right? Because the reveal is probably not going to have anything to do with Gambit, and people will be like, "Where's Gambit?" Well,
Or
now you don't need to
PvP.
ask where's Gambit. Yeah. Well, they're going to show off the map.
Well, they'll show the map. Yeah.
They'll show the map.
It does suck though that before we get this big hype moment, right?
Yeah.
We get this tapering of, hey, shit's not going to be as good as you thought it might be. Just rein it back a little bit. Like, I don't know. It takes away from the fun of these types of things. Where like you said, when you go into these types of announcements, so like there's that whimsy, there's that like that unknown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this feels like the you're the kid dreaming real big, and then the parent comes along and is like, not that
Listen,
big.
kid. Life's tough.
Exactly. I am hopeful for the game, and like I don't want my opinion to be like perceived as like dead game Lamau, dancing on its grave or anything. I'm very, very hopeful for what the game has in store for it. But like at the same time, I'm not going to be holding my breath anymore.
Yeah, I'll always cheer for Destiny. I'll always cheer
Oh,
for
yeah.
Bungie.
Yeah.
Just no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll always, I just, like you said, Rin, it's like I play what I enjoy of Destiny. And if they end up throwing something in, like maybe I play the Relic mode and I'm like, wow, this is actually really fun, then that's fantastic. And I'll play more of it.
Yep.
But I'm not like I'm not holding on to hope that Bungie is creating a game for me anymore. Because over the past year and a half-ish, I've kind of felt like I'm not the player they're creating the game for.
Yeah.
But I'll always play the big
It's
expansion
amazing how
drop.
many times it's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are they making
Yeah.
this game for? It's changed
Well,
so many times.
that's probably a good question to ask. Who are you making the game for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most frustrating parts for a lot of the community too, is that like, especially the vocal group is like, who is this for? And nobody can really pinpoint the exact answer. Is it for the casual? It doesn't seem to be. Is it for the hardcore? Doesn't seem to be. So why? Right?
That's kind of been my response to a lot of I'm like, why? Why are we doing that? Why
Yeah.
what? What is happening?
Yo.
So, don't be sad, gamers. It's okay.
Dude,
There's hope
I'm
on the
actually really
horizon.
glad. I had this discussion right at the beginning of stream, and it was a lot of like people have amazing conversations in my chat. I'm always so thankful for them. But then we went and did New Light on my Titan, and like it has the D1 intro, and then it's got this ink blot thing that tells the whole story of Destiny till now. And I was like, this is actually really fun. This is really cool.
That's worth checking
have
out
all of this.
if you haven't seen that in a while. That is very
I know
cool.
Gathalion's been doing like a full, like fresh playthrough of D1 lately too, and the nostalgia's
looks
been
fun.
great there too.
Yeah. Ultimately, the reason we're still here is because there isn't a game like Destiny, and shooting doesn't feel as good as Destiny
Well,
feels.
don't forget Anthem.
Exo
I think it's best
Primal,
that we do
is
forget.
pretty good. Gambit, just do what Exo Primal did. Put it in Gambit. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. Very fun.
All right, we got to wrap this one up.
You
Yep.
should wrap it up. Don't be sad, gamers. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Just gotta wait
Also,
till
Rin,
August. Well, it is August.
Thanks
I
for
guess.
coming
Yeah,
on
thank you,
tonight and
Rin.
offering your insights.
Yeah.
Appreciate your
It
presence
was
tonight on the
fun.
show.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for sending me a DM at the butt crack of dawn, being like, "Hey, can you do this?"
Rin, help!
Yeah, sure, why not?
Go follow Rin. There should be a direct button that you press if you are in Twitch chat. If not, check out Rin_Vixen on twitch.tv.
Always happy to help. I do feel a little bit out of place though, because I haven't played the game in that long, or for that like in a long time. So like I feel like my opinions are a little bit kind of like.
Yeah,
But
but you
I
bring
think
the
that's-
input of a seasoned gamer, and that's valuable.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's also good, right? It's good to have the opinions of people. That's why I wanted to talk about it so much today, like on Twitter and on stream, because it's like I want
Yeah.
opinions of people who stopped playing, who are apathetic, who are obsessed, who love it. I want the opinions of everyone on this because it's very easy to be jaded and read everything in your jaded view when
Yeah.
some people are maybe reading the same thing and going, this is cool, actually. So
Yeah.
I never want to be, stuck in my own
Echo
thought.
chamber. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you have Twitter questions or?
we do, but it's late.
Okay. I was.
Adam
Ask them
Smile.
again next week,
Yeah.
gamers, please.
We'll try and catch up on it next week. Thank you
We'll do
all
a fun
for
thing probably next week.
All right.
Well, funnest millions. We're not even going to talk about Destiny.
You always do the heavy ones when I'm on. You let Lego have all the fun.
That's true. That is true. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.